Hello, English 111 students. Welcome to week two. Video's being posted a little late. I apologize for that. Wanted to go over the assignments and let you know what all I expected this week. We're looking at the announcements here. It says that week two, the assignments and readings that are due, B1, which is called Narrating Experiences. That's an e-text reading, so you read the chapter and you do the connect assignment with it. B2, reading response, asks you to read a document and then answer a series of questions before, during, and after the reading that you're doing. B3, the writing process overview, generating ideas and organizing, is a just to connect assignment. B4, the narrative essay pre-writing, is actually a Blackboard upload, and that's what we'll look at for this video in a few minutes. B5 is the actual assignment instructions and resources for the large essay, the narrative essay that's due at the first part of the course. You need to read those resources and mark that you reviewed them. And then B6 is the writing process, drafting and writing strong paragraphs. That's, again, just a connect assignment. I also want to make sure that you're working continuously on those grammar, punctuation, and style activities. Remember that there's a staggered due date on those. The grammar is due after week three. I think it's week three. The punctuation is due after week five, and then the style is due after week eight. But those are in designed to help you to be a better writer with your documents you're writing for the class. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at that pre-writing assignment, the B4 assignment. So I'm going to go to modules. Of course, week two is here. When you go to the B4 narrative essay pre-writing, basically these are the instructions for the assignment, for the pre-writing assignment. So it says you're going to begin planning your journey to a dream destination essay. Complete the questions in the pre-writing activities below to practice in the first stages of the writing process. Then submit your responses to the following questions and tasks. You may submit multiple files when needed, but all files must be in Word or PDF. I would say just try to put them all in one file if you can. If you can't, then that's okay. I'll explain that in a second. So the first thing you're going to do is review the topic suggestions below, right here in the category section, inspired by the globally intensive theme of imagining yourself taking a journey to a country or culture you've always wanted to explore. Choose a story that you'd like to tell in your own narrative essay, and your story should focus on an imagined trip to this destination and how it impacts you intellectually, emotionally, and culturally. In your response to this question, include the category below that best applies to your narrative topic. So these categories here are things that you're allowed to use as that greatest moment of conflict or that greatest the conflict or climax of the story or something, the reason you're writing. Did what you do in this imagined journey result in an intellectual or moral growth or any kind of increase in your maturity? Did it challenge your beliefs or your attitudes or your values? Or maybe it allowed you to see your behavior or assumptions from someone else's perspective. Now, you can go through the rest of these and decide what it is that what's the angle you're going to take for this essay. For this, you didn't tell us, you briefly described, for this assignment here, you briefly describe in a few sentences the imagined destination and the story you're going to write about in your essay, and then include why you chose this destination and the story. Why have you always wanted to go to this place? What made you want to go to that place? Ensure that your topic is both meaningful to you and appropriate for sharing with the class. Remember, we are going to be posting our drafts in a peer review forum that's a discussion board in a future assignment. So the next thing you're going to do is compose a thesis statement. This is number two in the list of things you have to do. Write a thesis statement for your essay. It should be 1 to 2 sentences that tells us what the topic and the significance of the narrative is. For example, my imagined journey to Japan allows me to explore my fascination with traditional tea and ceremonies and blah, blah, blah. Number three, explain the audience's interest. Why might they be interested in this topic? Tell us why it should be engaging to your audience. Remember that it should be engaging to your audience and you want to plan it that way. So tell me why this story is important and how it connects to universal themes or themes that other students might be experiencing. Then the thing you have to do for number four is complete 2 methods of pre-writing. You're going to read about pre-writing and those activities for week two. They tell you different things that you can do. They're all covered here. You can use listening and brainstorming, questioning, free writing, clustering, outlining, or using even a graphic organizer. Now, you're going to say, how am I supposed to do this on Word if I'm going to list by hand? You can open a Word document, do 1 through 3, and then for number 4, you write by hand and take a picture of this writing that you did and then insert it into the document, and then save it. And of course, number 5 says submit the document as a Word or PDF file. And you'll do that right here by clicking this link. You'll see that it's due on Sunday, January 25th. Okay. So make sure you take a look at that. That's the B4 assignment for this week. Remember that what you're working on is this imagined immersion travel narrative. We want to see that you all can understand what it means to be immersed in a certain culture. I will say this, if you have traveled before to a real place and you had a real problem there where you were immersed in culture or you learned something while you were there, a place that's another country outside of the United States, like that doesn't include Alaska. You may not write about Alaska or Hawaii. Those are United States. It can be a Caribbean U.S. territory, like the Virgin Islands or something like that. But if you have never done that, I wanted to give the flexibility to those students who need to create a story. Now, it sounds funny, but you're writing a narrative, a story, one that has an arc to it, right? So while you're reading the first couple of B module assignments or the B assignments in week 2, you're going to see in your readings that there's a certain structure for a narrative. It's a triangle or upside down triangle. They call it Freytag's pyramid. And that means that it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it means that there's you do certain things. You'll read about it as you read the chapters here. But in the corner, at the top of that witch's hat, is that central conflict, that thing that we need to know that the reader got over. I do want to say that you should be very transparent in your introductions and your conclusions, letting us know if this trip really did happen or if it was an imagined immersion travel narrative. So, to that end, let us know when the introduction be completely. This I'm talking about the essay now, not the pre-writing. Um, but in the pre-writing, if you want to say that it is an imagined trip that you took and not a real one, that's okay as well. So that's the big assignment for this week. I do think that if you look at Module 3, the schedule for Module 3, that narrative essay is going to be due next week. That means that you need to be actually planning to draft the essay. I'll give you feedback on the writing that you write, but you're going to actually be drafting the essay because we will have a peer review on week 3. And then at the end of week 3, you'll submit that final draft of the essay after you've gotten some feedback on it. So week 3 is going to be packed. Week 2, not so much. I would say go ahead and start writing that draft of that essay after you do the what is that? B4, sorry, the pre-writing activity, B4. All right, so take a look at that. Also, let's look here. I should go ahead and say that. B5, the assignment instructions itself. This is the assignment for the essay that's going to be due at the end of week 3. So go ahead and take a look at these things, the purpose of the writing, the skills and knowledge that you'll need. This AI guide reminds you again that you will not be using AI assistance to write this document. You may use AI for this to be get some ideas, ask your AI what it is, where is a good place to travel to, or what are some good things to do in a certain city. But don't take what they write and put it in place of your writing because that will trigger a warning for me and it will cause me to call for a meeting with you. The task here is here for this paper. You're going to compose a narrative about an imagined journey to a country or culture you've always wanted to explore. You're going to follow these instructions here for this module. And then here are the basics. It needs to be 750 to 1,000 words. It needs to be an MLA format, which you've had a couple of different assignments in the first A or B module that have taught you about the MLA format. There's also a template document in one of these folders that will help you to better understand what it should look like. Here's the structure of your essay. You're going to have an introductory paragraph. You'll have multiple body paragraphs, and then a concluding paragraph. This basically tells you exactly what you need to do. Follow these rules here. Include that interesting title. Make sure it's logical and coherent. Make sure you do that appropriate style and tone for an academic essay. Use precise and vivid vocabulary and eliminate spelling, punctuation, capitalization rules. And then last but not least, some people don't know this, Avoid using the second person you, your, unless it's used in dialogue. So you wouldn't write, when you walk into Dr. Mills's class, the first thing you see, you wouldn't write that because that uses the second person you. So what you'd want to do is change that either to the first person, I, when I walk into Dr. Mills's class, the first thing I see, or the third person, he, she, they. When a student walks into Dr. Mills's class, the first thing they see. So that's very easy to overlook. It's one of those things that you train yourself to be on the lookout for while you write. A couple of example essays for you to look at here that show you exactly what I want you to do. So you'll see there's one about Iceland, there is one about Milan in Italy, and there's one about Munich in Germany. So take a look at all of those to better understand how to write your essay. Here are the MLA formatting guide and checklist, as well as the MLA template you can use for a Word document, as well as a sample paper with notes and a couple of videos to look at as well. So make sure you use those resources in the assignment folder. That's the, again, B5 narrative essay assignment folder. Below that, the last thing is the rubric that tells you how the essay will be graded when the final draft has been posted. It's a Word document. So you're going to see that the narrative rubric has several criteria like formatting, introduction, thesis, and conclusion. And then there's a sliding scale that tells you what an F paper, what a C or D paper, what a B paper, what an A paper does, and the point value for each one of those. All right. So that's what I got to show you today. I hope that this helps you a little bit. If you got any questions, please reach out to me. Remember, it's important. Go ahead and start writing that draft now. You want to go ahead and start writing, even though the pre-writing assignment is due. I'll give you feedback on your drafts when you post them in the peer review forum. So go ahead and start working on that now to make sure you're not falling behind. That's all I got for you this week. Thanks a lot, English 111 students. Reach out to me if you got any questions. Always email first, psmills@johnstoncc.edu. Have a good day.